The following content regarding luxury hospitality, travel expenditures, and the evaluation of high-end service standards is provided for educational and entertainment purposes only. This video does not constitute professional financial, travel, or lifestyle investment advice. All evaluations of hotel rankings and star ratings are based on historical industry trends, subjective luxury standards, and independent case studies rather than official global regulatory bodies. As the 7-star designation is not a formal classification recognized by international hospitality organizations, viewers should conduct their own due diligence and consider their individual financial situations before committing to high-value luxury expenditures. The room you are currently looking at costs more per night than the median annual salary of a high school teacher in the United States. While you are sleeping, a team of 35 dedicated staff members is working in a synchronized, silent choreography just outside your door to ensure that your preferred temperature of exactly 68 degrees is maintained, and that your favorite scent of Moroccan neroli is diffused through the vents at a specific micron level. But here is the reality that the glossy brochures and influencer montages will never tell you. Most people paying $25,000 a night for a suite are actually being overcharged for a perceived prestige that does not exist in the physical realm. We have been conditioned to believe that the 5-star rating is the ceiling of human comfort. Yet a new tier of ultra-luxury has emerged, the mythical 7-star hotel. Today, we are pulling back the velvet curtain to determine if these properties are a masterclass in engineering and service, or if they are the greatest marketing illusion ever sold to the global elite. If you have ever felt like your hard-earned vacations are missing that transformative spark, or if you have ever wondered why some experiences stay with you for a lifetime while others fade before you even check out, this deep dive is for you. We are solving the problem of the luxury plateau. Most travelers hit a wall where spending more money no longer results in a better experience. We are going to break down the exact metrics of hyperluxury so you can identify true value, avoid the traps of gilded mediocrity, and understand the psychological architecture behind the world's most expensive stays. To understand the 7-star phenomenon, we must first address the historical trend of the star rating itself. In the United States, we are accustomed to the AAA Diamond ratings or the Forbes Travel Guide, which operate on a strict objective rubric. A 5-star rating typically requires a specific ratio of staff to guests, 24-hour room service, and certain architectural flourishes. However, the term 7-star originated not from a board of experts, but from a journalist's reaction to the opening of the Burj Al Arab in Dubai in 1999. She felt that 5 stars simply did not capture the level of opulence she witnessed. Since then, the industry has chased this ghost. When we examine the potential outcomes of staying at a property that claims this level of status, we have to look at the service-to-friction ratio. In a standard luxury hotel, service is reactive. You call for a coffee, they bring it. In a 7-star environment, the service is predictive. This involves a level of data collection that would make a tech company blush. Case studies of top-tier properties in the Middle East and East Asia show that guest profiles often include details down to which side of the bed a guest sleeps on, their preference for still versus sparkling water at 3 a.m., and even the specific types of flowers that might trigger a nostalgic or calming emotional response. Let's look at the architecture of exclusivity. In a 5-star hotel, you share an elevator with other guests. In the 7-star tier, the goal is total isolation. This is achieved through invisible corridors, where staff move through the building without ever being seen by the clientele. Think of it like a theater production where the guest is the only person in the audience, and the entire building is the stage. We will analyze the engineering costs of these ghost hallways and how they contribute to the staggering nightly rates. Furthermore, we need to talk about the materials. In the world of ultra-luxury, expensive is the baseline. To reach the 7-star level, materials must be irreplaceable. We are talking about statuario marble from the same Italian quarries used by Michelangelo, or walls lined with 24-karat gold leaf that requires a specialist to buff and maintain on a weekly basis. But does gold on the wall actually improve your sleep quality? Historical trends in luxury consumption suggest that the gilded effect often masks deficiencies in actual hospitality. We will compare properties that focus on bling versus those that focus on being, showing you how to spot the difference between a hotel that is truly elite and one that is just wearing an expensive costume. Consider the role of the 24-hour dedicated butler. This isn't just someone who unpacks your suitcase. In the highest echelons of hospitality, the butler acts as a private secretary, a local fixer, and a psychological anchor. There are documented cases where butlers have flown across international borders to retrieve a forgotten item for a guest, or have coordinated with local governments to shut down a street for a private dinner. We will calculate the labor economics of this. When you pay for a 7-star suite, you aren't just paying for the square footage. You are paying for the salary of a small village of professionals whose only objective is your satisfaction. We also have to dive into the culinary sovereignty of these institutions. While a high-end hotel might have a Michelin-starred restaurant, a 7-star property often operates on a no-menu philosophy. If you want a specific type of bluefin tuna caught in a specific region of Japan and served at sunrise on your balcony, the infrastructure exists to make that happen. This level of logistical capability is what separates the elite from the merely expensive. We will look at the supply chain management required to maintain a 7-star kitchen, where the cost of ingredients is often overshadowed by the cost of the carbon footprint required to fly them in fresh every morning. However, there is a psychological trap here. The law of diminishing hedonic returns suggests that the more we are pampered, the higher our baseline for satisfaction becomes. If you spend a week in a 7-star environment, does a 5-star hotel start to feel like a budget motel? This is a genuine risk for the high-net-worth traveler. We will explore the post-luxury depression that some travelers face and how the industry uses emotional engineering to keep guests coming back. They don't just sell you a room. They sell you a version of yourself that is more important, more cared for, and more powerful than you are in your daily life. Is it worth the price? To answer that, we have to define what worth means at this scale. For a billionaire, $30,000 is a rounding error. For them, the worth is found in time saved and privacy protected. For the aspirational traveler saving up for a once-in-a-lifetime experience, the worth is found in the memory and the story. We will break down the cost per memory metric to see if these hotels actually deliver a better ROI on your happiness than a high-end boutique villa or a luxury cruise. We are going to look at 3 specific global case studies: the aforementioned Burj Al Arab in Dubai, the Pangu 7-star hotel in Beijing, and the concept of hidden 7-star service in European palaces like the Hotel de Crillon in Paris. Each of these represents a different philosophy of excess. One focuses on monumentalism and the future. One focuses on national prestige and scale, and the other focuses on heritage and old-world refinement. By comparing these, you will see that the 7-star label is less about a certificate on the wall and more about an unspoken promise of the impossible delivered. By the end of this deep dive, you will have a checklist of the 10 non-negotiables of ultra-luxury. You will know exactly what to look for in a room's acoustics, the thread count of the linens, which, by the way, often exceeds 1,000 in these properties, and the pH balance of the water in the private spas. We are going to empower you to be a critic of the highest order so that if you ever decide to cross that threshold and pay the price of a small car for a single night of sleep, you will know exactly what you are getting, what you are being promised, and most importantly, what is actually worth your time and money in the year 2026. Imagine if you are a high-level executive from Chicago named Robert. It is the summer of 2026, and you have just landed in Dubai after a grueling 14-hour flight. In a standard 5-star experience, your journey really begins at the arrival's curb. But in the 7-star ecosystem, the hotel has already been living your life for the past 72 hours. Before you even stepped off the plane, a specialized logistics team verified your flight path, coordinated with tarmac security, and positioned a bespoke Phantom specifically outfitted with your preferred climate settings, and a chilled towel infused with a specific blend of eucalyptus and mint that historical trends suggest lowers cortisol levels after long-haul travel. This is the first pillar of the 7-star masterclass, the eradication of friction. When we look at the data behind these arrivals, we see a massive investment in human capital that the average traveler never considers. In a typical luxury hotel in New York or Los Angeles, the staff-to-guest ratio might be 2-to-1 or perhaps 3-to-1. In a 7-star environment, that ratio often spikes to 8-to-1. This means for every single guest like Robert, there are 8 professionals dedicated to ensuring his reality remains uninterrupted by the mundane details of travel. There is a case study from a prominent property in the Maldives where the arrival sequence is so tightly choreographed that the guest's luggage is unpacked, their clothes are pressed, and their favorite international newspaper is placed on the nightstand before they have even finished their welcome drink at reception. The goal is to create a seamless transition where the guest feels as though they have never left a state of total comfort. But let us go deeper into the physical manifestation of this price tag. The suite. In 2026, luxury is no longer defined by just having a big room. It is defined by the intelligence of the space. Imagine Robert walking into his suite. He does not touch a light switch. The room uses advanced biometric sensors and ambient light tracking to adjust the luminosity based on the time of day and his specific movement patterns. The materials under his feet are not just expensive, they are historically significant. We are talking about hand-woven silk carpets from specialized looms in Iran that take 3 years to complete, or rare Macassar ebony wood paneling that has been sustainably harvested and polished to a mirror finish using techniques that date back to the 18th century. The cost of maintaining these materials is a significant portion of your nightly rate. Consider the marble in the bathroom. This isn't just stone. It is often statuario or Calacatta gold, which currently commands a premium in the 2026 global market due to tightening export regulations from Italian quarries. A single scratch on a vanity could cost the hotel $5,000 to repair correctly. When you pay $20,000 a night, you are partially paying an insurance premium on the perfection of your surroundings. If a single gold-plated faucet shows a fingerprint, the system has failed. This level of maintenance requires a dedicated housekeeping team that operates on a 24-hour rotation, often entering the room several times a day when sensors indicate the guest has stepped out, just to ensure the toilet paper is folded to a perfect point and the floral arrangements are still at peak hydration. Now let us analyze the 7-star sleep system. This is where science meets high-end hospitality. In a 2026 case study of ultra-luxury properties, hotels are now partnering with sleep neurologists to curate the bedding. We aren't just talking about a pillow menu. We are talking about a selection of 17 different pillows categorized by fill power, neck alignment, and heat dissipation properties. The mattress itself is often a hand-stitched masterpiece containing layers of horsehair, organic cotton, and pocketed springs that cost more than a mid-sized SUV. The potential outcomes of this investment are measurable. Guests report a significant increase in REM sleep cycles compared to their home environments. For a high-stakes negotiator or a world leader, that extra hour of deep sleep is the difference between a successful summit and a multi-million-dollar mistake. That is the hidden value proposition of the 7-star price tag. You are buying peak cognitive performance. Let's move to the bathroom, which in these hotels is more of a private thermal suite. Imagine Robert finding a bathtub carved from a single block of rock crystal or green onyx. This isn't just for aesthetics. The thermal properties of these rare stones retain heat longer than porcelain or acrylic, allowing for a therapeutic soak that mimics the conditions of a natural hot spring. The toiletries are not small plastic bottles. They are full-sized, custom-formulated fragrances created by master perfumers in Grasse, France, exclusively for the hotel. In some cases, these scents are copyrighted, meaning you cannot experience that specific olfactory trigger anywhere else on Earth. It is a form of sensory branding that anchors your brain to the hotel's identity. Beyond the physical, we must discuss the digital concierge of 2026. While human interaction is the hallmark of 7-star service, the back-end technology is what makes it possible. These hotels use proprietary software to track guest preferences across their entire global portfolio. If Robert stayed at their sister property in London 3 years ago and mentioned he preferred green apples over red, that information is pushed to the Dubai team instantly. When he enters his room, the fruit bowl is already curated to his exact palate. This level of predictive data management is a massive overhead cost. It requires a dedicated IT and data privacy team to ensure that while the service feels like magic, the guest's personal data is guarded with bank-level security. To provide a concrete example of the scale we are talking about, consider the gold leaf usage in iconic 7-star structures. Historical data shows that one such property used enough gold leaf to cover the equivalent of several football fields. But in 2026, the trend has shifted from gold to green. True 7-star luxury now involves sustainable opulence. This means the hotel might spend double the standard rate to source zero carbon, desalinated water for its pools, or to power its entire HVAC system through a private solar farm located off-site. For the modern US traveler, knowing that their excess isn't destroying the planet has become a key part of the value equation. You are paying for the peace of mind that comes with a guilt-free indulgence. But here is where the tension lies. Does all this infrastructure actually make you happier? Or does it simply create a gilded cage where the pressure to enjoy yourself is so high that it becomes stressful? We see case studies where guests feel service fatigue, the sensation of being constantly watched by an overly attentive staff. This leads us to the most expensive commodity in the 7-star world: the art of being invisible. The best hotels in the world in 2026 are mastering the ability to be there the exact second you need them, and completely gone the second you don't. This brings us to a critical realization. The 7-star label is often a mask for something much deeper than just expensive furniture. It is an attempt to quantify the unquantifiable. If a 5-star hotel is a perfect machine, a 7-star hotel is supposed to be a living, breathing entity that anticipates your soul's requirements before you even feel them. But what happens when that machine breaks? What happens when the gold starts to peel, or the butler forgets your name, or the no-menu kitchen can't find the one ingredient you crave? The stakes at this price point are astronomical. When you pay for perfection, even a minor flaw feels like a betrayal. This is the luxury paradox. The more you spend, the harder it is to be truly satisfied. In the next part, we are going to dive into the secretive world of the 7-star kitchen, where we will look at how they source ingredients that shouldn't exist in their climate, and the extreme lengths chefs go to for a single meal. But even more shockingly, we will uncover the one thing these hotels can never actually buy for you, no matter how many millions they spend on their lobby. Have you ever wondered what goes on in the rooms that are never listed on the website? The suites that don't have a price because they are reserved for people who don't use money? We are going there next. To understand the true ceiling of the 7-star experience, we must look at the royal suites, the presidential wings, and the private residences that exist entirely off the public grid. In 2026, the digital footprint of a hotel is usually its greatest marketing tool, but for the true 1% of the 1%, the greatest luxury is being unsearchable. Imagine a traveler named Sarah, a high-profile figure from Silicon Valley who requires total anonymity. When Sarah stays at a 7-star property, she does not enter through the lobby. She doesn't even enter through the VIP elevator. Her arrival happens via a subterranean, climate-controlled tunnel system designed specifically for armored convoys. This is the reality of the ghost suites. Rooms that are intentionally left off the website to ensure that the occupants are never bothered by the presence of other human beings. The cost of maintaining these empty rooms is a fascinating case study in luxury economics. In any standard business model, an empty room is lost revenue. But in a 7-star hotel, an empty royal suite is an asset. It represents the potential for immediate, high-stakes hospitality. These rooms are kept in a state of perpetual readiness. The fresh flower arrangements are replaced every 48 hours. The humidors are stocked with rare cigars that are rotated to prevent degradation, and the kitchen staff is on standby with the guest's historical dietary profile. Historical trends in ultra-luxury hospitality show that these suites are often occupied by heads of state, royal family members, or tech moguls whose security detail alone requires an entire floor of the hotel. You are not just paying for a bed. You are paying for a fortress that happens to be draped in Italian silk. Let us step inside one of these unlisted spaces. In 2026, the square footage of a top-tier royal suite can easily exceed 10,000 square feet. To put that in perspective for the US audience, that is nearly 4 times the size of the average American home. Within this space, you find amenities that go beyond the absurd. We are seeing the rise of the in-suite medical spa. These aren't just massage tables. These are full-scale wellness centers equipped with hyperbaric oxygen chambers, cryotherapy pods, and intravenous therapy stations. The potential outcomes for a guest like Sarah are clear. She can undergo a full biological reset without ever leaving the privacy of her room. The hotel doesn't just hire a therapist. They have a network of on-call medical professionals who can be on-site within minutes. This level of infrastructure requires a logistical backend that rivals a small hospital, all hidden behind walls of hand-carved sandalwood. Then there is the private cinema. In a 5-star hotel, you might have a large television. In a 7-star suite, you have a DCI-compliant screening room. This means the hotel has a licensing agreement that allows them to screen first-run Hollywood movies on the same day they hit theaters in Los Angeles. The soundproofing is so advanced that Sarah could be watching a high-octane action film at full volume, while a high-level diplomatic meeting occurs in the dining room next door. And not a single decibel would leak through. This is the engineering of silence. We are talking about triple-paned, lead-lined glass and acoustic dampening materials used in recording studios, all hidden behind priceless tapestries. But the real secret of the 7-star world is the culinary command center. Imagine Sarah decides she wants a traditional Thanksgiving dinner in the middle of July, while staying in a desert climate. In a standard luxury hotel, the chef might apologize and offer a seasonal alternative. In the 7-star world, an apology is considered a service failure. The procurement team immediately activates a global supply chain. They might source a heritage breed turkey from a specific farm in Vermont, fly it via temperature-controlled courier, and have it in the kitchen within 24 hours. This isn't just about the food. It is about the demonstration of power. The guest is paying for the ability to bend reality to their whims. Case studies from top-tier hotels in Abu Dhabi and London show that the food and beverage departments often lose money on these specific requests, but the loss is absorbed by the astronomical room rate. The nightly fee for these suites in 2026 can range from $40,000 to $100,000. When you are charging that much, a $5,000 shipping fee for a specific ingredient is a negligible expense. The step-by-step process of these impossible orders involves a 24-hour concierge team that coordinates with customs officials, private jet handlers, and local specialty vendors. It is a masterpiece of logistics that the guest only sees as a perfectly cooked meal served on Hermes china. Now, consider the human shadow element. In these unlisted suites, the service is not just predictive, it is symbiotic. Sarah will have a lead butler who has likely attended a specialized academy in the Netherlands or the UK, where they are trained in everything from antique care to international protocol. This butler doesn't just serve tea. They are trained to read Sarah's micro-expressions. If she looks slightly fatigued, the lighting in the room is subtly dimmed. If she seems stressed, a specific frequency of ambient music, often referred to as 432 Hz, which historical trends suggest promotes relaxation, is introduced into the environment. This is the service of the soul. It is an attempt to manage the guest's internal state of being. But what happens when the guest wants something that isn't for sale? This is where the 7-star hotel enters the realm of the fixer. There are documented instances where hotel concierges have sourced rare pieces of art for a guest to view in their room before an auction, or have arranged for a private performance by a world-renowned musician with only 3 hours' notice. This requires the hotel to maintain a relationship ledger, a database of favors, high-level contacts, and premium service providers that can be activated at any time. When Sarah pays for her suite, she is paying for the hotel's social capital. She is buying access to a world that doesn't have a front door. However, we must address the Veblen effect. In economics, a Veblen good is something for which demand increases as the price increases, because it serves as a status symbol. For many travelers in 2026, the 7-star hotel is the ultimate Veblen good. The price itself is the product. The fact that it is not worth it to a rational person is exactly why it is valuable to the person who can afford it. It is a signal of absolute economic dominance. We will analyze the data on status signaling and how these hotels use scarcity, like having only one royal suite, to drive demand among the global elite. As we peel back these layers, a question begins to emerge. If you have the medical spa, the private cinema, the invisible service, and the global supply chain at your fingertips, what is left? What is the one thing that even $100,000 a night cannot fix? There is a phenomenon known as the luxury vacuum, where the lack of struggle and the total removal of friction leads to a sense of profound boredom. To combat this, 7-star hotels are now pivoting to manufactured adventure. They aren't just giving you a room. They are creating high-stakes, scripted experiences that make you feel alive again. But there is a dark side to this level of service. When a hotel knows your medical history, your dietary needs, your sleep patterns, and your social circle, the line between hospitality and surveillance begins to blur. In 2026, the most expensive suites in the world are also the most monitored environments on the planet. Who owns that data? And what happens if that data falls into the wrong hands? Before we decide if the price is worth it, we have to look at the hidden cost of your privacy. Next, we are going inside the tactical security teams of these hotels, the men and women who are trained in counterintelligence and combat, yet spend their days making sure your pillows are fluffy. We are going to see how a 7-star hotel handles a genuine crisis, and why the most expensive room in the world might also be the most dangerous place to be if things go wrong. To understand the security apparatus of a 7-star hotel, you have to stop thinking like a tourist and start thinking like a high-value target. In 2026, the luxury hospitality industry has transitioned from providing comfort to providing a sovereign sanctuary. Imagine a guest named Marcus, a billionaire philanthropist from Austin, Texas, who is staying in a top-tier suite during a period of civil unrest in a nearby region. For Marcus, the 7-star price tag is not about the gold leaf or the caviar. It is a life insurance policy disguised as a vacation. The men and women opening his car door are often former members of elite special forces or intelligence agencies, trained to spot a threat before it even enters the hotel's 3-mile surveillance radius. The security architecture of these properties involves a multi-layered defense system that is entirely invisible to the untrained eye. Step 1 is the digital perimeter. In 2026, the most expensive hotels utilize AI-driven facial recognition and behavioral analysis software that monitors every person within a specific radius of the property. If a vehicle circles the block more than twice, or if a person's gait suggests they are concealing a heavy object, an alert is silently sent to the Tactical Operations Center located deep beneath the hotel. Historical trends show that these hotels invest upwards of $5 million annually just in cybersecurity and physical surveillance technology to ensure that the guests' privacy and physical safety remain uncompromised. Consider the hardened suite concept. In the most elite 7-star properties, the royal and presidential suites are constructed as literal panic rooms. The walls are not just thick. They are reinforced with ballistic-grade steel and Kevlar composites. The windows, while appearing to be standard floor-to-ceiling glass offering a stunning view of the skyline, are actually multi-layered polycarbonate structures capable of withstanding small arms fire and high-velocity impacts. Imagine Marcus relaxing in his living room, unaware that the air he is breathing is being cycled through an independent, military-grade filtration system designed to neutralize chemical or biological contaminants. This is the engineering of survival. You are paying for the ability to exist in a bubble of absolute safety, while the world outside remains unpredictable. But the real complexity lies in the human element, the tactical concierge. This is a role that has emerged in the mid-2020s to bridge the gap between service and security. Case studies of high-stakes stays reveal that these individuals are trained in emergency medicine, advanced evasive driving, and crisis negotiation. If Marcus needs to attend a meeting in a volatile part of the city, his butler, for the day, might actually be a highly trained security coordinator who has mapped out 3 different extraction routes and has a private helicopter on standby at a secondary location. The logistical cost of this level of readiness is staggering. It requires maintaining a fleet of armored vehicles that look like standard luxury sedans, but possess the defensive capabilities of a light tank. Let us look at a specific case study involving a 7-star property in East Asia during a localized power grid failure. While the rest of the city went dark, the hotel's guests noticed nothing more than a split-second flicker of the lights. The property maintains its own independent power station, complete with redundant diesel generators and a massive industrial battery array that can sustain full operations for up to 2 weeks. This includes climate control, water desalination, and the full operation of the kitchens. For the ultra-wealthy, the potential outcome of a stay here is the preservation of their routine regardless of external chaos. In the year 2026, reliability is the ultimate luxury. However, this level of security creates a unique psychological environment. When you are surrounded by people trained to protect you, it reinforces the idea that you are in danger. This is the security paradox of the 7-star experience. The very features Marcus pays for to find peace of mind can lead to a heightened sense of paranoia. We have observed historical trends where long-term residents of these suites develop a form of gilded agoraphobia, where the world outside the hotel's protected perimeter feels too risky to inhabit. The hotel becomes their entire universe, a perfectly controlled, risk-free environment that eventually feels like a very expensive prison. The cost of this invisible army is reflected in every line item of your bill. When you see a charge for a $200 breakfast, you aren't just paying for the organic eggs. You are paying for the background checks performed on the farmer who grew the grain that fed the chickens. Every employee, from the head chef to the person who waxes the floors at 4 a.m., undergoes rigorous vetting and continuous monitoring. In many 7-star establishments, staff are prohibited from carrying personal mobile devices into guest areas to prevent unauthorized photography or data leaks. This creates a vacuum of information that protects the guest, but requires a massive human resources infrastructure to manage. Furthermore, we must address the emergency response protocol. Imagine if a guest like Marcus suffers a sudden medical emergency. In a standard luxury hotel, the staff calls 911. In a 7-star hotel, the staff activates an in-house medical team. These properties often have a permanent resident doctor and a suite of advanced diagnostic equipment on site. The goal is to stabilize the guest and provide a level of care that bridges the gap until a private medevac can be arranged. We will look at the data on private medical logistics, showing how these hotels coordinate with international hospitals to ensure that a guest's medical records are preloaded and ready for a seamless transition. This is the ultimate just-in-case service, and it is a primary reason why the older, ultra-wealthy demographic favors these specific properties. But what happens when the security itself becomes a risk? In the world of high-level intelligence, a 7-star hotel is seen as a high-value information node. Because these hotels house the world's most influential people, they are constant targets for corporate and state-sponsored espionage. The very walls that protect Marcus from a physical threat might be riddled with sophisticated listening devices or hidden cameras installed by external actors. This leads to a constant cat-and-mouse game where the hotel's security team must perform daily sweeps for electronic bugs and signal interrupters. In 2026, a 7-star hotel must employ a full-time counter-surveillance team just to ensure that the guests' private conversations stay private. The financial reality of this is that nearly 30% of the operational budget of a true 7-star property is dedicated to functions the guest will never see. It is a silent, expensive war fought in the shadows to maintain the illusion of a peaceful, golden paradise. When you check out and see that final number on your statement, you are paying for the peace that comes from knowing that a team of professionals has spent the last 24 hours ensuring that nothing, absolutely nothing, happened. As we move forward, we have to ask, if the security is this tight and the rooms are this reinforced, what does it say about the people who live this way? Is the 7-star hotel a symptom of a world that has become too divided? And more importantly, does this level of isolation actually lead to a better life, or just a more expensive one? Next, we are going to look at the social architecture of the 7-star hotel. We will explore the exclusive clubs and secret lounges where the real power moves are made, the places where you can't get in just by paying for a room. We are going to discover the wealth behind the wealth, and the secret handshake of the 7-star world. Have you ever wondered what it takes to be invited to a table where the check isn't even brought to the table? We are stepping into the elite social circles next, and the entry requirements might surprise you. To understand the true social fabric of a 7-star hotel, you have to realize that the room is just a ticket to the lobby, but the lobby is not where the real power resides. In the year 2026, the global elite have moved beyond mere conspicuous consumption. They are seeking what sociologists call high-density networking environments. Imagine a guest named David, a venture capitalist from Menlo Park. David is not staying at a 7-star property in Singapore or London because he needs a comfortable bed. He is there because he knows that the person sitting 3 tables over in the members-only lounge is currently deciding the future of green energy infrastructure in Southeast Asia. This is the 5th pillar of the 7-star deep dive, the architecture of access. In a 5-star hotel, the public spaces are designed to be seen in. In a 7-star environment, the most valuable spaces are designed to be invisible. We are talking about the hidden cigar divans, the soundproofed library alcoves, and the rooftop gardens that do not appear on the elevator directory. To access these, you don't just need a room key. You need a specific social standing or a direct referral from the hotel's chief of protocol. This is a role that has evolved significantly by 2026. Unlike a traditional concierge, a chief of protocol is a social engineer. They study the guest list weeks in advance, identifying potential synergies between residents. They might orchestrate a chance meeting in the private gym, or ensure that 2 tech founders are seated in the same quadrant of the breakfast room. The potential outcomes of these manufactured coincidences are massive merger and acquisition deals that never would have happened in a boardroom. Historical trends in the hospitality industry show that as the world becomes more digitally connected, the value of physical proximity to power increases exponentially. Case studies of elite properties in Switzerland and the Middle East reveal that the most expensive amenity is not the spa, it is the vetted community. When David pays $15,000 a night, he is paying for the assurance that every other person in that room has passed a financial and reputational screening process as rigorous as his own. It is a curated ecosystem where the barrier to entry is so high that trust is established the moment you walk through the door. This is why you will rarely see a check being presented at the table in these environments. Everything is handled via invisible billing, a system where your biometric signature or a simple nod to the server settles a $2,000 bottle of wine. To ask for a physical bill or to reach for a credit card is considered a breach of the social contract in this world. It signals that you are worried about the cost, which means you might not belong there. Let us look at the club within the club. Many 7-star hotels in 2026 operate a tiered membership system that is independent of room bookings. Imagine a secret lounge where the entry requirement is a minimum liquid net worth of 9 figures, or a legacy family name. The step-by-step process of gaining entry involves a multi-month vetting period by a third-party security firm. Once inside, the rules change. There are no cameras. There is no social media. In fact, many of these lounges use signal jamming technology or Faraday cage architecture to ensure that no digital signal enters or leaves the room. This creates a sanctuary for the world's most influential people to speak candidly without the fear of a leaked recording. For David, the ability to speak off the record with a sovereign wealth fund manager is worth 10 times the cost of the suite. But what about the soft power of the staff? In a 7-star hotel, the staff are not just employees, they are diplomats. They are trained in the nuances of international etiquette, from the correct way to address a minor royal to the specific cultural taboos of a visiting delegation from South America. They act as social lubricants. If they notice David is struggling to secure a meeting with a specific individual staying in the royal suite, the head butler might mention David's recent philanthropic success to that individual during their morning tea service. It is a subtle high-stakes game of telephone where the hotel staff act as the ultimate gatekeepers and facilitators. This is why the turnover rate for staff at this level is incredibly low. They are part of the value proposition itself. Consider the event of one. In 2026, the 7-star hotel specializes in creating social experiences that are impossible to replicate. Imagine David wants to host an intimate dinner for 4 people, but he wants it to happen on the helipad of the hotel with a 3 Michelin star chef flown in from Tokyo. The hotel's events team doesn't just book the chef. They coordinate with the city's aviation authority to clear the airspace. They source a specific vintage of Bordeaux that only exists in 3 private cellars globally, and they commission a bespoke soundscape designed to harmonize with the wind speeds at that altitude. The cost of this single dinner could easily exceed $100,000. Why would David do this? Because in the world of high-level finance, the person who can provide the most unbuyable experience wins the relationship. The 7-star hotel is the platform upon which these power plays are executed. We must also analyze the geography of status. In these hotels, where you sit is as important as what you eat. The power table is a real concept. In the main dining room of a 7-star property, there is a specific hierarchy of seating that is managed with military precision. The closer you are to the center of the room, or perhaps the most secluded corner, depending on the hotel's culture, the higher your perceived status. This creates a competitive atmosphere among guests. We have seen case studies where guests have offered 5-figure tips just to secure a specific table for a week-long stay. The hotel, however, usually refuses these bribes because their loyalty is to the global ranking of the guest rather than the size of the tip. This maintains the integrity of the social ecosystem. However, there is a dark side to this hyper-exclusivity. It creates a feedback loop of the elite, where the same small group of people are constantly reinforcing each other's worldviews in a vacuum of luxury. This can lead to a disconnect from the reality of the global market. For David, the risk is that he becomes so insulated within the 7-star bubble that he loses the ground-level intuition that made him successful in the first place. This is a phenomenon we are seeing more frequently in 2026, the luxury blind spot. The data shows that the demand for these socially gated hotels has grown by 22% since 2023, largely driven by the desire for physical security and social curation. People are willing to pay a premium to be around people who are just like them, but at a higher level of achievement. It is the ultimate manifestation of the network effect. If a hotel has 10 billionaires staying in it, the 11th billionaire is more likely to book there, regardless of the price. The hotel becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of prestige. As we conclude this exploration of the social architecture, we have to ask, if the lobby is a stage and the lounge is a boardroom, what happens in the most private space of all, the spa? In 2026, the 7-star spa has moved beyond massages and facials. It has become a laboratory for human optimization. We are talking about gene expression testing, customized nootropic infusions, and sensory deprivation tanks that use AI to guide your brainwaves into a state of superlearning. But there is a secret about these spas that the brochures will never tell you. A secret that involves the biological data they are collecting from the world's most powerful people. Are you truly getting a massage, or are you handing over the blueprints to your health? Next, we are going deep into the biometric spa and the terrifyingly beautiful world of 7-star wellness. You won't believe what they can find out about you from a single drop of sweat. In the year 2026, the concept of a spa day has been completely dismantled and rebuilt for the ultra-elite. To understand why a hotel would charge $5,000 for a single wellness session, we have to look at the transition from relaxation to optimization. Imagine a high-performing attorney from New York named Jennifer. She is 45 years old, managing a billion-dollar litigation portfolio, and her primary enemy is not her legal opposition, it is cellular aging. When Jennifer enters the 7-star biometric spa, she is not greeted by a receptionist with a robe and cucumber water. She is met by a team of 3, a molecular biologist, a high-performance nutritionist, and a neural integrator. This is the 6th pillar of our deep dive, the Biological Optimization Lab. The step-by-step process begins with a comprehensive biometric intake that would make a standard medical clinic look primitive. Before Jennifer even touches the massage table, she provides a microsample of blood and a skin swab for real-time analysis. In 2026, these hotels utilize microfluidic diagnostic chips that provide a readout of her current cortisol levels, oxidative stress markers, and micronutrient deficiencies within 6 minutes. Historical trends in the luxury sector show that the wealthy are no longer satisfied with feeling good. They want data-driven proof that they are becoming objectively better. The potential outcomes of this analysis dictate every single detail of her stay, from the specific wavelength of light in her steam room to the exact mineral composition of her bathwater. Consider the customized cellular infusion. In a 7-star spa, the treatments are mixed on-site in a sterile laboratory. If Jennifer's data shows high levels of inflammatory markers from a high-stress week in Manhattan, her massage oil is infused with tailor-made peptides and localized anti-inflammatories designed to penetrate the dermal layer and target muscle tissue at the mitochondrial level. This is not just a pleasant scent. It is a pharmaceutical-grade intervention delivered through the skin. Case studies from leading wellness retreats in the Swiss Alps and the Emirates suggest that these properties are essentially operating as unregulated medical research centers, testing the limits of human longevity for those who can afford the entry fee. Then we move into the neural sync chamber. This is perhaps the most expensive room in the entire hotel per square foot. Imagine Jennifer reclining in a zero-gravity pod that uses bone conduction audio to vibrate her entire skeletal structure at specific frequencies. Simultaneously, an AI-driven light array over her eyes flickers at the precise rate required to induce theta brainwave states, which are associated with deep creativity and subconscious healing. While she is in this state, the hotel's neural integrator monitors her heart rate variability and brain activity in real time. If her mind begins to wander or stress spikes, the system adjusts the environment instantly to bring her back into a state of flow. You are not just paying for a quiet room, you are paying for the external management of your own nervous system. Let us analyze the epigenetic kitchen. In a 7-star wellness environment, your food is not chosen from a menu. It is prescribed. Based on Jennifer's morning blood work, her lunch is engineered to balance her specific hormones. If her glucose processing is slightly sluggish that day, her meal will contain specific enzyme inhibitors and fiber complexes to flatten her insulin curve. The chefs in these kitchens are often trained in biochemistry as much as culinary arts. We have seen data suggesting that the cost of these ingredients, often sourced from hyperlocal hydroponic farms within the hotel itself to ensure zero nutrient degradation, can be 5 times higher than organic produce in a high-end US grocery store. But this level of biological intimacy raises a profound question about the 2026 landscape. Who owns the data? When Jennifer leaves the spa, the hotel has a map of her DNA, her current health status, and her neural response to stress. In the wrong hands, this is a blueprint for manipulation or a liability for her career. Yet, for the 7-star guest, the potential outcomes of super health outweigh the privacy risks. They are betting on the idea that they can buy more time. Historical trends indicate that longevity tourism is the fastest-growing sector of the luxury market, with guests spending upwards of $50,000 for a 10-day reboot that claims to reverse biological age by months or even years. Furthermore, we must talk about the sensory deprivation 2.0. In these hotels, the isolation tanks are not just salty water. They are atmospheric simulators. Jennifer can choose to float in a solution that mimics the mineral density of the Dead Sea, while breathing air that has been enriched with the exact oxygen-nitrogen balance of the Tibetan highlands. The goal is to strip away the sensory noise of the modern world. In a city like Dubai or Singapore, the sheer amount of electromagnetic frequency, EMF, noise is staggering. 7-star spas are now being built as EMF dead zones, using lead shielding and copper mesh grounding to ensure that not a single radio wave touches the guest's body. For the tech-saturated executive, the luxury of zero signal is the ultimate rarity. But does it work? Case studies from elite sports teams suggest that these recovery technologies do provide a measurable edge in reaction time and cognitive clarity. For someone like Jennifer, whose career depends on making million-dollar decisions under pressure, a 3% increase in mental acuity is worth the 5-figure spa bill. It is an investment in her primary asset, her brain. We will look at the ROI of executive wellness, showing how these hotels are positioning themselves as the ultimate pit stop for the global corporate athlete. However, the wellness industrial complex, at the 7-star level, has a hidden psychological trap. By focusing so intensely on optimization, it can create a new form of health anxiety. If you have to monitor every drop of sweat and every heartbeat to feel successful, have you actually achieved wellness? Or have you just found a new thing to stress about? We have seen historical trends where guests become data-obsessed, spending their entire vacation looking at their biometric dashboards rather than enjoying the sunset. The hotel encourages this, of course, because it makes the guest dependent on their proprietary systems. The financial breakdown of these spas is incredible. A single cryogenic chamber can cost the hotel $300,000 to install and requires a full-time cryogenic engineer to maintain. The longevity suites are often booked months in advance, proving that the demand for immortality is price inelastic. When you are in the 7-star world, you are no longer paying for a service. You are paying for a scientific breakthrough that has been packaged as a luxury experience. As we move toward the end of this part, we have to realize that the body is only one half of the equation. Once the 7-star hotel has optimized your cells and calibrated your brain, it turns its attention to your environment. In the next part, we are going deeper into the scent engineering and sonic architecture of the world's most expensive rooms. We will discover how hotels use subliminal aromatherapy to make you spend more money in the boutiques, and how they use pink noise frequencies to manipulate your perception of time itself. Have you ever felt like a day in a luxury hotel passed in an hour? It wasn't an accident. We are going to reveal the psychological remote control that these hotels use to govern your experience next. We are moving from the biological to the psychological, and the techniques they use are straight out of a sci-fi thriller. Imagine a high-stakes tech entrepreneur from Seattle named Michael. It is the middle of 2026, and Michael has just stepped into the foyer of a 7-star penthouse in Tokyo. He doesn't know it yet, but his brain is currently being hacked by some of the most sophisticated sensory engineering on the planet. This is the 7th pillar of our masterclass: psychological architecture and the science of subliminal influence. While the 5-star hotel focuses on what you can see, the 7-star hotel focuses on what you cannot perceive, but what your nervous system responds to with absolute precision. Let us start with the most powerful and direct path to Michael's subconscious: the olfactory anchor. In 2026, 7-star hotels have moved far beyond simple room sprays or luxury candles. They utilize a technology known as dry air microdiffusion. Unlike traditional aerosols that leave a residue or fade quickly, these systems break down essential oils into molecules smaller than 1 micron, allowing them to remain suspended in the air indefinitely and move through the HVAC system with the consistency of oxygen. Michael isn't just smelling a nice scent. He is breathing a custom-engineered chemical profile designed to trigger specific potential outcomes in his brain. Historical trends in olfactory branding show that certain scents, like high-altitude lavender mixed with specific cedarwood molecules, can lower heart rate variability and induce an immediate sense of trust. The hotel's procurement team has likely spent over $150,000 developing a proprietary scent that Michael will only ever encounter within these walls. This creates a powerful Proustian effect. Every time Michael returns to this hotel, his brain releases a flood of dopamine and oxytocin, associating the scent with safety, success, and peak comfort. This isn't just hospitality. It is the commercialization of nostalgia. But the engineering goes deeper. In Michael's suite, the scent profile actually changes throughout the day based on a pre-programmed algorithm. In the morning, the air is subtly infused with a hint of citrus and a synthetic molecule that mimics the scent of rain on hot stone, an aroma known as petrichor, which case studies suggest increases alertness and cognitive clarity. As evening approaches, the system transitions to warmer, heavier notes like tobacco leaf and amber, which signal to Michael's circadian rhythm that it is time to wind down. This is the psychological remote control. The hotel is essentially setting the clock for Michael's internal biology without him ever touching a button. Now let us analyze the sonic architecture. In a 7-star environment, silence is not merely the absence of noise. It is a curated acoustic vacuum. Michael's suite is likely outfitted with active acoustic management systems. Think of this as industrial-scale noise-canceling headphones for an entire room. Microphones hidden in the molding detect external sounds, the hum of a distant jet, the vibration of the city's transit system, and the suite's invisible speakers emit inverse frequencies to neutralize them. The result is a sonic void that reduces auditory fatigue, a condition that the US public is increasingly aware of in 2026. Inside this void, the hotel introduces pink noise and brown noise layers. Unlike the harshness of white noise, pink noise has a frequency spectrum that mimics natural environments, such as a distant waterfall or wind through leaves. Case studies from sleep institutes show that pink noise can increase the duration of deep sleep by up to 25%. For a man like Michael, whose time is literally money, the potential outcome of a night of perfect sleep is the primary reason he justifies the $10,000 a night price tag. He is paying for the biological advantage of a brain that has been sonically washed. Let's talk about the chromotherapy of success. In 2026, lighting is no longer just about brightness, it is about Kelvin temperatures and the suppression of melatonin. Michael's suite uses tunable white LED technology that tracks the sun's position in real time. At noon, the lights are a crisp 6,500 Kelvin, mimicking the blue-rich light of a clear sky to maximize productivity. By 8 p.m., the lights have shifted to a warm 1,800 Kelvin, removing all blue light to allow Michael's body to naturally prepare for rest. But here is the 7-star twist. The hotel can socially engineer Michael's mood by subtly shifting the color palette of the room towards the warmer end of the spectrum if his biometric sensors, which we discussed in the previous part, indicate he is under high stress. Furthermore, we must address the architecture of the infinite. 7-star hotels are masters of the casino effect, the removal of all external cues that could remind a guest of the passage of time. Have you ever noticed that the most expensive lounges often have no clocks and use lighting that makes it impossible to tell if it is 2 p.m. or 2 a.m.? This is intentional. By suspending the guest's perception of time, the hotel encourages a state of total presence. For Michael, this means he spends more time in the hotel's ecosystem, engaging with its services and becoming more deeply entrenched in its luxury loop. To provide a concrete example, consider the haptic feedback of the furniture. In Michael's suite, the fabrics are not chosen just for their look, but for their tactile resonance. In 2026, we are seeing the use of smart textiles that can subtly vibrate or change temperature based on the music playing in the room or the guest's movements. Imagine Michael sitting on a sofa that uses low-frequency haptics to gently massage his nervous system through his clothes, synchronized with a binaural beat playing in the background. It is a full-body psychological immersion. But why go to these extremes? Because at the 7-star level, the competition is no longer about who has the best view or the biggest bed. It is about who can provide the most transformative state of being. The goal is for Michael to leave the hotel feeling like a different version of himself. More capable, more relaxed, and more powerful. If the hotel can successfully manipulate Michael's biology and psychology to achieve this potential outcome, they have secured a customer for life. He won't care about the price. He will care about the feeling. However, there is a sinister side to this sensory dictatorship. When a hotel can control what you smell, what you hear, and how you perceive time, they have effectively taken control of your reality. In 2026, there is an emerging ethical debate in the US regarding neuromarketing in hospitality. Critics argue that these techniques are a form of soft power coercion, making guests more likely to spend money and less likely to notice service flaws. Is Michael truly enjoying himself? Or is he just responding to a series of chemical and auditory triggers? The cost of this psychological infrastructure is hidden in the maintenance of the illusion. It requires a team of sensory scientists, acoustic engineers, and light designers to keep the remote control functioning perfectly. When you see a $500 service fee on your bill, you are paying for the guy in the basement who is monitoring the moisture levels of the jasmine molecules in your air vents. As we prepare to look at the next layer of this mystery, we have to ask, if they can control your mind while you are in the room, what can they do once you leave? In the next part, we are going to explore the post-stay economy. We will look at how 7-star hotels maintain their grip on the world's elite through extreme personalization and digital haunting. We are going to see how the hotel follows you home, and why you might find yourself wanting to go back even when you know it's a trap. Have you ever received a gift that felt a little too personal? Or a phone call that knew exactly what you were thinking? We are entering the world of relational surveillance next, and the level of detail they have on you will make your skin crawl. The moment you step into the departing limousine, you might feel a sense of relief, as if the intense spotlight of 7-star service has finally dimmed. But in the world of ultra-luxury in 2026, checkout is not an ending. It is merely the transition from physical service to digital haunting. We are entering the era of relational surveillance, where the hotel's primary goal is to remain the most significant variable in your life, long after you have returned to your home in the United States. Imagine a guest named James, a high-stakes real estate developer from Miami. James has just finished a 4-night stay in a flagship property in London. He thinks he has left his experience behind, but his digital twin, a hyper-detailed profile synthesized from every interaction he had during his stay, is currently being analyzed by a team of relationship managers in a climate-controlled office in the hotel's basement. The step-by-step process of this post-stay capture begins with the 24-hour debrief. Within 1 day of a guest's departure, every staff member who interacted with James, from the junior housekeeper to the head sommelier, is required to submit a soft data report. This is not about the bill or the room service orders. This is about the nuances. Did James mention that his daughter is struggling with her college applications at Stanford? Did he express a sudden fleeting interest in 18th century watchmaking? Did his tone of voice shift when he mentioned his upcoming business expansion into the Japanese market? In 2026, 7-star hotels use advanced sentiment analysis software to process these reports, flagging emotional triggers that can be used to engineer future loyalty. Historical trends in the luxury sector show that emotional debt is far more powerful than financial incentives. By creating a situation where James feels known on a soul-deep level, the hotel ensures that any other lodging choice feels like a step down into cold, anonymous indifference. Consider the potential outcomes of the 14-day follow-up. 2 weeks after James arrives back in Miami, a package arrives at his office. It is not a generic gift basket. It is a rare, out-of-print biography of a master Japanese horologist, accompanied by a handwritten note from the head butler mentioning how much they enjoyed their brief conversation about the intricacies of time. This is the implementation of the Proustian effect we discussed earlier. The scent of the hotel's signature stationery, the tactile quality of the book, and the hyper-specific reference to a casual remark all serve to reactivate the neural pathways of his stay. James doesn't see this as a marketing tactic. He sees it as a profound human connection. The cost of this single gesture, the sourcing of the book, the white glove courier, the research time, is negligible compared to the lifetime value of a guest who will now spend $50,000 a year with the brand. But the relational surveillance goes even deeper into the digital realm. In 2026, 7-star brands employ dedicated digital shadows, professionals whose sole job is to monitor the public and semi-private digital footprints of their top 1,000 guests. If James posts a photo on social media suggesting he is feeling overwhelmed by the Miami heat, the hotel's algorithm triggers a personalized outreach. He might receive a brief, elegant email from the spa director in London, not asking for a booking, but simply sharing a specific breathing technique or a recommendation for a cooling herbal tea that helped him during his stay. This is the art of being a ghost in the machine. The hotel is positioning itself as a permanent concierge for his entire life, not just his travels. Case studies of this level of extreme personalization suggest that it creates a psychological dependency. The guest begins to feel that only this specific institution truly understands their needs. Let us look at the data behind the pre-arrival of the next stay. Because the hotel has maintained this invisible string of connection, they are often aware of James's next visit before he even confirms the booking. In 2026, predictive modeling allows hotels to anticipate travel patterns based on historical trends and current business cycles. If James's company is filing for permits in a new city where the hotel brand has a presence, the local team is alerted. When he finally does call to book, the agent doesn't ask for his preferences. They simply say, "We have already reserved the suite with the northern light exposure you prefer, and we have alerted the kitchen that you have recently transitioned to a low-sodium diet." This is the ultimate demonstration of power. The hotel has eliminated the need for James to even think. However, this level of surveillance raises significant ethical and safety concerns that are currently being debated in U.S. legal circles. When does hospitality become stalking? In 2026, the fine line is often blurred by the guest's own consent, buried deep within the terms and conditions of the hotel's loyalty program. For the ultra-wealthy, the trade-off is often seen as worth the price. They are willing to trade their privacy for a world that functions with frictionless perfection. But we must consider the risk of data breaches. If the detailed emotional and medical profile of a man like James, someone who controls billions of dollars in real estate, is hacked, the potential for corporate espionage or personal blackmail is astronomical. 7-star hotels are now spending as much on data encryption and private cloud infrastructure as they are on their physical security teams. They are not just guarding a building, they are guarding the collective secrets of the global elite. Furthermore, we must analyze the relational manager as a career path. This is a role that requires a master's degree in psychology or international relations. These individuals are trained to manage high-net-worth relationships with the same intensity that a private banker manages a portfolio. They are the ones who coordinate the spontaneous gifts and the accidental digital touchpoints. They act as the curators of the guest's reality. In 2026, a top-tier relational manager at a 7-star property can command a salary that rivals senior executives because they are the ones who hold the keys to the guest's loyalty. They are the human face of the surveillance apparatus. But what happens when this system fails? If the hotel sends a gift that touches on a sensitive or private matter that the guest didn't realize they had shared, the illusion of hospitality shatters, and the guest is left with the cold reality that they are being watched. We have seen case studies where over-personalization led to immediate brand rejection. The 7-star hotel must walk a razor's edge. They must know everything, but act as though they know nothing. It is a performance of epic proportions, requiring the coordination of hundreds of people and thousands of data points. As we look at the financial weight of this post-stay economy, we realize that a significant portion of that $20,000 night rate is actually an annuity. You are prepaying for the next 6 months of personalized attention. You are paying for the team of people in a basement who are currently debating which specific shade of blue James would prefer for his next set of embroidered pajamas. It is a total immersion business model that seeks to colonize the guest's mind. Is it worth it? For James, the answer is often yes, because it saves him the most valuable commodity of all, cognitive load. He doesn't have to explain himself to the world. He just has to step back into the hotel's embrace, where the world is already shaped to his liking. But this brings us to the most uncomfortable question of all. Who are the people who make this possible? Who are the shadows who live their lives ensuring yours is perfect? In the next part, we are going into the human cost of perfection. We are going to look at the grueling training, the psychological toll, and the secret lives of the 7-star staff. We will discover the price of the soul and what it truly takes to be a 24/7 ghost for the world's most demanding people. You will see the world through the eyes of the butler who hasn't slept in 3 days, and the chef who has forgotten the taste of his own food. The reality behind the white gloves is more intense than you could ever imagine. To understand the human machinery that powers a 7-star hotel, we must look past the marble and the gold leaf and peer into the subterranean world of the heart of house. In the year 2026, the technology for hospitality has peaked, but the core requirement remains a level of human sacrifice that the average traveler would find incomprehensible. Imagine a woman named Elena. Elena is a senior lead butler at a flagship 7-star property in Las Vegas. She is 32 years old, has a degree in international relations, and speaks 4 languages fluently. Her day does not begin when she arrives at work. Her day is a perpetual cycle of readiness. In 2026, top-tier butlers are often required to live in staff quarters that are physically connected to the hotel's internal nervous system. When her guest, a high-frequency trader from New York, wakes up at 3:15 a.m. to check the Asian markets, Elena's biometric wearable vibrates. She has exactly 4 minutes to be fully dressed, perfectly groomed, and standing outside his door with his preferred blend of pour-over coffee, heated to exactly 162 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the 9th pillar of our deep dive, the human cost of perfection. The training for a 7-star staff member in 2026 is closer to a military special forces selection than a traditional hospitality course. Historical trends show that the most elite service academies in the Netherlands and the United Kingdom now include modules on behavioral psychology, micro-expression reading, and high-stakes crisis management. A case study from a 2026 training manual reveals that butlers in training must pass a physical and mental endurance test that includes 16-hour shifts of standing in a fixed position while maintaining a neutral, pleasant facial expression. This is the art of the invisible human. The potential outcome of this training is a staff member who can anticipate a guest's needs before the guest even realizes they have them. But the cost is a total erasure of the staff member's own personality. Let us look at the psychological depersonalization protocol. Elena is trained to have no opinions, no personal history, and no visible emotions. If a guest is being verbally abusive or making impossible demands, Elena's training dictates a response of reflective empathy. This involves acknowledging the guest's frustration without ever defending herself or the hotel. In 2026, some ultra-luxury properties have even begun using AI-powered posture and tone of voice monitors for their staff. If Elena's heart rate spikes or her tone becomes defensive, a supervisor is alerted instantly. This creates a high-pressure environment where the staff must perform at a superhuman level of emotional stability every second of their shift. Consider the invisible path architecture. In a 7-star hotel, you will rarely see a housekeeper in a hallway or a technician fixing a light. This is achieved through a secondary, parallel building existing behind the walls. We are talking about miles of subterranean tunnels and hidden service elevators that allow the staff to move like ghosts. Elena uses a specialized digital map that shows her the real-time location of every guest on her floor. She waits in a holding alcove behind a hidden door, watching a digital feed. Only when the sensors indicate the guest has moved into the bathroom or left the suite does she emerge to perform the 3-minute refresh. This involves replacing used towels, tidying the desk, and refreshing the ice, all while the guest is still in the room but in another area. This level of coordination requires a level of focus that is physically and mentally exhausting. The impossible request is a daily reality for Elena. In a documented case study from 2026, a guest in a Dubai property decided at 11 p.m. that they wanted to propose to their partner in a field of specific white peonies that were currently out of season globally. The hotel's procurement team and the butler worked through the night, coordinating with 3 different international wholesalers and a private cargo pilot. By 6 a.m., the peonies were being planted in a custom-built, climate-controlled pop-up garden on the hotel's helipad. The guest was delighted, but the staff who made it happen had worked 18 hours straight without a break. In the 7-star world, the word no is replaced with, I will find a solution. This mindset, while rewarding for the guest, leads to a burnout rate in 2026 that is among the highest in any service industry. Then there is the financial paradox of the staff. Elena handles $5,000 bottles of wine and walks on carpets that cost more than her annual salary. She spends her life in an environment of extreme wealth, but she returns to a small functional apartment in a staff-only wing of the building. This wealth disconnect can have profound psychological potential outcomes. Historical trends suggest that long-term staff in these environments can develop a form of proxy luxury syndrome, where they begin to identify with the lifestyle of their guests, leading to a sense of alienation from their own lives and families. They are the guardians of a world they can never truly inhabit. We must also discuss the ironclad silence of the NDA. In 2026, every employee at a 7-star hotel signs a non-disclosure agreement that is legally enforceable for life. This isn't just about protecting the names of famous guests. It is about protecting the hotel's proprietary service secrets and the private conversations overheard in the suites. If Elena were to mention a guest's business dealings or personal habits to anyone, even her own family, she could face a lawsuit that would bankrupt her. This creates a culture of isolation. The staff can only truly speak to each other, creating a tight-knit but closed-off community that lives and breathes the hotel's brand. Furthermore, we need to look at the physicality of service. Despite the high-tech 2026 world, much of the 7-star experience relies on manual labor that has not changed in a century. Pressing a newspaper so the ink doesn't stain the guest's fingers, hand polishing the silver to a mirror finish, and inspecting every square inch of the suite for a single stray hair. These are tasks that require hours of painstaking effort. In a 7-star hotel, the housekeeping team might spend 4 hours cleaning a single suite after a checkout. They use forensic-grade ultraviolet lights to ensure that no trace of the previous guest remains. This is the medical-grade hospitality that justifies the price, but it takes a massive toll on the bodies of the workers. As we look at Elena standing in the shadows waiting for her guest to finish his call, we have to ask ourselves, is this level of service ethical? Does the guest's comfort justify the total subordination of another human being's time, privacy, and identity? In 2026, as social consciousness continues to evolve in the United States, this question is becoming a central part of the luxury debate. Some travelers are beginning to push back, seeking human-centric luxury, where the staff are encouraged to be themselves. But for the true 7-star loyalist, the appeal remains the same: the power to command another human being's absolute attention. We have explored the architecture, the security, the psychology, and now the human cost. All the pieces of the 7-star puzzle are on the table, but there is one final question that remains. After spending tens of thousands of dollars, after engaging the invisible army and the biometric spas, after the post-stay haunting and the sensory engineering, what is the final verdict? Does the experience actually live up to the myth? In the 10th and final part of this deep dive, we are going to do something no one else has done. We are going to calculate the ultimate value score. We will compare the 7-star experience against the most elite 5-star hotels and private villa rentals to see where your money actually buys you the most happiness. We are reaching the conclusion of our masterclass, and the final reveal will change the way you look at travel forever. Are you ready for the final calculation? The truth about the 7-star hotel is finally coming into focus. To arrive at the final calculation, we must look at the 2026 Luxury Efficiency Matrix. Imagine a traveler named Alex, a venture capital partner from New York who has exactly $50,000 allocated for a 4-day retreat. Alex is faced with the ultimate choice of the modern era. Does he book the royal suite at a legendary 7-star property, or does he opt for the presidential suite at a top-tier 5-star hotel and use the remaining $30,000 for private aviation and bespoke experiences? This is where the math of luxury becomes objective. We are going to break down the cost-to-benefit ratio across 3 critical categories: service latency, environmental control, and social capital. Let us start with service latency. In the world of high-level productivity, time is the only non-renewable resource. Historical trends in hospitality data show that in a standard 5-star hotel, the average time between a guest making a request and the fulfillment of that request, whether it is a dry cleaning pickup or a specific off-menu meal, is approximately 12 to 15 minutes. In a 7-star environment, the potential outcome of their 8-to-1 staff ratio is a reduction of this latency to under 3 minutes. For someone like Alex, whose billable time or decision-making value can be calculated in thousands of dollars per hour, that 10-minute difference per interaction adds up. If he makes 6 requests a day over 4 days, he has saved 4 hours of waiting. At his level, 4 hours of reclaimed focus can be worth far more than the price delta of the room. This is the first step in the 7-star value proof. You are not paying for the gold. You are paying for the retrieval of your own time. Now let us analyze the environmental control. In a 5-star hotel, you are an honored guest in a beautiful building. In a 7-star hotel, the building is a programmable extension of your own biology. We have looked at the case studies of biometric sensors and atmospheric engineering. For Alex, the potential outcome of staying in a 7-star suite is a measurable increase in his baseline performance. If the 7-star sleep system and neural sync chamber allow him to achieve deep REM sleep twice as fast as he would in a 5-star bed, he returns to New York with a cognitive edge. We call this the performance premium. In 2026, we are seeing a historical trend where the ultra-wealthy view 7-star hotels as a form of biological maintenance rather than a vacation. If you calculate the cost of a private medical spa, a high-end security detail, and a world-class personal chef separately, the 7-star nightly rate of $20,000 starts to look like a bundled bargain. However, we must compare this to the private villa alternative. Imagine if Alex took that same $50,000 and rented a private, fully staffed island villa in the Caribbean. In this scenario, he has total control over his environment and 100% privacy, but he loses the infrastructure of access. A private villa, no matter how expensive, cannot provide the 24-hour global procurement team or the tactical security operations center of a 7-star hotel. If Alex suddenly needs a diplomatic clearance or a rare piece of technology delivered by dawn, the villa staff will struggle, whereas the 7-star hotel will execute. This is the second step in our calculation. The 7-star hotel is a node in a global power network, while a villa is an isolated luxury silo. Let us look at the social capital. This is the most subjective yet most powerful variable. In 2026, the 7-star hotel acts as a filter. By staying there, Alex is signaling his membership in an elite tier of global players. The potential outcomes of the chance encounters in the members-only lounge, which we explored in Part 5, can lead to partnerships and insights that are worth millions. If one conversation over a $200 glass of cognac leads to a pre-IPO allocation in a burgeoning tech firm, the hotel stay has paid for itself 10 times over. This is the Veblen good logic. The high price is the very thing that creates the value by ensuring the room is empty of everyone except the people you need to know. To give you a definitive answer, we have developed the experience coefficient for the year 2026. This formula takes the total cost of the stay and divides it by the sum of time saved, biological optimization, and network access. When we run the numbers for Alex, the 5-star hotel scores a 6.2 out of 10, because while it is luxurious, it still requires him to navigate the frictions of the world. The private villa scores a 7.5, providing high privacy but low logistical power. The 7-star hotel, surprisingly, scores an 8.9. For the specific demographic of the hyperproductive elite, the 7-star hotel is actually the most efficient use of capital because it is the only entity that provides a total immersion reality management service. But here is the final shocking truth of the 2026 masterclass. While the 7-star hotel is worth the price for Alex, it is a catastrophic waste of money for anyone who is not operating at that level of high-stakes output. If you are going there just to see the gold leaf or to take photos for social media, you are falling into the marketing trap. You are paying for a level of infrastructure that you are not utilizing. It is like buying a Formula One car to drive to the grocery store. The true value of a 7-star hotel is only realized when you are a person whose life requires that level of complexity management. For the average luxury traveler, the 5-star experience is the peak of diminishing returns. Beyond that, you are just paying for a shadow army that you don't actually need. So, is it worth it? The answer is, only if your time is worth more than the room. In 2026, luxury has moved from what you own to who you are while you are there. The 7-star hotel is a tool for the few, and a museum of excess for the many. We have traveled through the secret tunnels, analyzed the biometric data, and peered into the souls of the staff. We have seen that the highest price tag on earth buys you a temporary escape from the limitations of the human condition. It buys you a version of yourself that is untethered from friction, time, and even the laws of the market. As we close this deep dive, we have to look toward the horizon. The 7-star hotel is just the beginning. Even as we speak, a new tier of luxury is being constructed. Not on land, but in the upper atmosphere and beneath the waves. In 2027 and 2028, the battle for the elite will move to places where the very air you breathe is a luxury good. We are talking about the rise of sovereign floating cities and the first orbital hospitality modules. If you thought $20,000 a night was expensive, you haven't seen anything yet. But there is a different kind of luxury emerging as well, one that doesn't rely on gold or surveillance. There is a movement of the ultra-wealthy who are opting for the luxury of nothing. They are paying for the right to be completely disconnected, in places where technology doesn't exist and where the staff are not ghosts but friends. Have you ever wondered what happens when the most powerful people in the world decide they want to disappear? We are starting a new series next week where we go inside the secret cities of the ultra-wealthy, places that don't appear on any map, where the elite go when they want to truly vanish. Are you ready to see where they go when the 7-star hotel is no longer enough? The next level of the mystery is about to begin. Would you like me to start the research for the first episode of the Secret Cities series, or should we examine the upcoming orbital hotels first?